You're something beautiful, electrochemical.
Okay, let's unpack this one. Today on the deep dive, we are diving into the pretty icy world of Glacier by Taylor Knox.
Yeah, definitely icy.
We've got some really interesting excerpts from the book itself, which should give us a good feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
And look, if you're a fan of those thrillers that really get your pulse going, the ones with some solid science mixed in, a real sense of urgency, this one's probably right up your alley.
Absolutely. It feels tailor-made for that kind of reader.
So our mission today, basically, is to get into the characters, the plot, which seems to have a few twists, the themes underneath it all, and really just lay out why Glacier could be your next big read if you love this genre.
And what really grabs you, I think, is how Knox just throws you straight in. You mentioned the icy world. Well, the prologue starts in Antarctica.
Right, that research station.
Exactly, the Antarctic Outpost Research Station. And it's not peaceful, it's groaning, there's a blizzard. It immediately tells you, okay, this is a high-stakes place.
Yeah, the environment itself is almost an antagonist from the get-go. You feel that isolation.
You really do. And for a thriller fan, that immediate sense of physical danger, that constant threat from the elements, it hooks you.
Definitely. But then it shifts, right?
Yeah.
There's this Knox sets up almost immediately.
Yeah, that's clever. You go from that frozen isolation to this village.
The one facing coastal erosion.
And it's such a sharp contrast. It's not just a location change. It feels like it immediately sets up a core conflict.
It brings the big climate change issue down to a really human level, doesn't it?
Totally. For readers who like stories grounded in real-world issues, seeing that global problem affect a specific community right away, it raises the stakes personally.
So what does that initial setup signal to you about the kind of story we're getting into?
Well, it signals, I think, that it's not just about surviving the cold. The village makes it clear there's a human cost here. It's about the environmental crisis, but through the lens of the people it affects. It creates an immediate kind of emotional anchor for the reader. It's not abstract data, it's lives.
And the descriptions really help there. You mentioned the station groaning.
Yeah, the groaning steel, the whiteouts, and then you contrast that with, like, the cracked earth in the village, the sounds, the smells of a place fighting the sea. It's very sensory.
Builds that atmosphere. Okay, so let's talk about our main character, Dr. Ivara Novak. We meet her pretty early on.
We do. And initially, especially when she first arrives at that village and meets Amina, her focus seems crystal clear.
The data.
The data, exactly. She's there for the science, the research. If you like protagonists who are driven, who have a clear goal, Ivar starts out very much like that.
But that interaction with Amina, it seems like a turning point, or at least the start of one.
I think so. It's
Yeah.
interesting how Amina's perspective, her lived experience of what Ivar is studying, starts to, well, complicate things for Ivara.
Puts a human face on the numbers.
Precisely. It hints that maybe Ivara's purely objective viewpoint might have to shift. For genre fans, that set up the scientist facing the human reality of their work. That's often rich territory for character development, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And even early on, there are these little hints. Something about Ivara's past.
Yeah.
And maybe some corporate stuff lurking in the background.
Yeah, subtle suggestions. It adds layers right away. Potential personal baggage, potential external antagonists. It promises more than just a simple survival or science plot.
So, multiple conflicts brewing from the start. The environment, maybe institutions, maybe Ivara herself.
Which is often what makes these kinds of thrillers really engaging, right? That complexity.
Okay, so moving on a bit, we also meet Eric Nordstrom. What's the initial vibe with him? He seems different from Ivara.
He does. Initially, he comes across as someone very comfortable in harsh environments, maybe more practical. There are mentions of him dealing with extreme weather.
Less academic, perhaps.
Possibly. More hands-on, survival-focused. It immediately makes you wonder, okay, how is he going to fit in with Ivara? What's their dynamic going to be?
And you do get those early hints of a dynamic forming. Maybe a bit of professional friction, but also maybe mutual respect because of the danger.
Yeah, there's potential there. For readers who enjoy character relationships evolving under pressure, those early scenes suggest something interesting might develop.
It's a classic setup, isn't it? Different skills, different perspectives thrown together.
Exactly. Sparks could fly, or they could become a great team. Or both. That uncertainty is part of the fun.
And it's not just them. We get glimpses of others, Amina, obviously, but also Kai, Dr. Wei, Augusta Steele, Claire Dennison.
Right. Quite a diverse cast introduced fairly early.
What does that suggest to you, just seeing those names pop up
Yeah.
in terms of the story's scope?
It suggests it's going to be pretty intricate. You've got Amina representing the human cost. Kai seems linked to the science side. Dr. Wei, maybe the academic pressures.
And Steele. Glacial Enterprises sounds potentially corporate, maybe antagonistic.
That's the hint, yeah. And Claire Dennison apparently shares some history with Ivara, so personal stakes, too. It points towards multiple plot lines, maybe conflicting agendas, lots of potential for twists.
Speaking of twists,
Yeah.
the core of the plot seems to be this scientific research clashing with maybe hidden agendas, corporate interference.
Definitely feels that way. That blend of the science mystery and the thriller elements, suspicion, hidden motives, it seems very central.
And things seem to pick up pace. Ivara finds concerning data. The urgency ramps up.
That's the classic thriller engine starting up. You feel the stakes rising as she digs deeper. And the locations, it's not just Antarctica.
No, it mentions London, Geneva, Bangladesh.
Right. Global Climate Research Institute, climate summits, other research sites. It gives it this big global scale, which makes the threat feel even larger.
Underscores that it's not just one person's problem or one location's problem.
Exactly. And as Ivara pushes for the truth, you get that suspense building. You know there's going to be pushback, opposition, obstacles in her way.
That's really the sweet spot for a lot of genre fans, isn't it?
Yeah.
That mix of intellectual puzzle, the science, and the suspense, the danger.
Absolutely. It looks like Glacier aims to deliver exactly that. You're invested in the mystery, but also worried about Ivara.
Okay, let's pivot to themes then. What themes are jumping out that would specifically appeal to fans of, say, science thrillers or eco-thrillers?
Well, the big one seems to be that pursuit of truth. The lone scientist or small group against powerful forces trying to hide something. That's a classic, compelling theme in this genre.
Always works.
And then, obviously, the environmental crisis theme. But it's not just backdrop, like we said. It feels deeply integrated, exploring the human impact.
With characters like Amina bringing it home.
Right. It grounds the bigger scientific and corporate conflicts in something tangible, something human.
Are there more personal themes coming through as well?
Seems like it. Things like personal responsibility, Ivara's shifting perspective suggests that. Courage, too. The courage to act on what you discover, even when it's dangerous.
And maybe unlikely alliances, like potentially between Ivara and Eric.
Potentially, yeah. How people with different backgrounds come together in a crisis, those personal journeys woven into the bigger plot, that's what makes characters stick with you, you know?
Definitely. Okay, so let's wrap it up. For listeners who are thinking, all right, sounds interesting, but why should I, as a fan of this genre, pick up Glacier? What's the core appeal?
Well, first off, you've got what sounds like a really compelling lead in Dr. Ivara Novak, a driven scientist facing huge challenges.
Okay.
The plot seems fast-paced, blending that science, which hopefully feels authentic with real suspense and action. That's a key combo for the genre.
The science needs to feel right, even if it's speculative.
Exactly. And the themes are incredibly relevant today. Climate change, corporate power. These are things people are thinking about. And the book seems to tackle them head-on within a thriller framework.
And you mentioned those aha moments, the discoveries.
Yeah, for readers who love figuring things out alongside the protagonist, unraveling the science, uncovering the secrets, it sounds like Glacier will deliver those satisfying moments.
Plus, the high stakes, global consequences.
Yeah.
Keeps you reading.
For sure. It promises that sense of scale and urgency. And crucially, based on these early parts, it sets all this up without giving away the big secrets or the ending. So the journey of reading it should still be full of discovery.
Sounds like a solid recommendation for the right reader then. So, if this deep dive has piqued your interest and you enjoy this kind of science meets suspense story, you'll want to look for Glacier by Taylor Knox.
You should be able to find it wherever you normally get your books, wherever great books are sold.
Yeah, check your usual spots.
Ultimately, it really seems to hit those key notes for the genre. Smart science, gripping plot, strong characters, and themes that actually matter. Should be a really satisfying read for fans.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Glacier. We hope this gives you a good sense of whether it's one to add to your list.
Hope so, too. Always fun to explore these.
Definitely. Maybe it leaves you thinking a bit about where that line is between scientific progress and corporate interests, especially when the planet's future's on the line.
A sobering thought to end on.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everyone.
You're something beautiful.